Hello, and welcome to the 10th Angels and Demons development update video. As always, there are timestamps in the description if you're only interested in specific parts. It's been a while. A few months ago, I talked about holding off on development updates until demo number 3 was finished. Well, if you didn't already know, demo 3 is out. In the time between demo 2 and demo 3, a lot has been done. Status effects in battles, 4 new attack styles, playable UE, plenty of new special attacks, tons of new items, and of course, World 2. I could spend an entire video talking about all that, but I think actually playing Demo 3 is much better at showing it off. Instead, I'll be using this video to talk about the recent Paperverse Direct, go over the feedback I've already received for Demo number 3, show off some of the things I've already started working on because of that feedback, and I'll talk about how development of the game, development update videos, and everything else is going to happen moving forward. So I'll get the really cool thing out of the way first. Angels and Demons was featured in the 2023 Paperverse Direct, the Paper Games Fest on Steam, and was featured on the Paperverse's Paper Power demo disc. At the time of writing this script, the number of wish lists Angels and Demons has gotten on Steam has more than doubled what it was before the event. I'm super thankful for the opportunity to be a part of the Direct this year, and for the support that's been shown to the game since then. You guys are awesome. If you're interested in checking out the Direct or the demo disc, links to both will be in the description. So with that out of the way, let's talk feedback. I have a lot of that, and I've already taken quite a bit of it into account. Let's start with Yui. In demo number 3, Yui is almost useless as a playable character. There isn't really any incentive to use her in the overworld other than the novelty of having a new playable character. Implementing Yui as playable was a necessity for World 2 due to the team jump attack style, but it's also laying the groundwork for future character development. Each playable character will have their own set of unique abilities that they learn later on. For example, the player character gets the Scarf Grapple ability and only he can use it. Starting in World 3, Yui will learn a special attack only she is capable of using. The idea is that she will get a spirit form that, when active, allows her to pass through certain solid objects. It's a pretty important ability from a story perspective, so I hope you'll look forward to seeing more of it in the future. As more characters become playable, these small nuances will become more apparent in gameplay. Considering that World 2 is still decently early in the game progress-wise, I don't want to overwhelm the player with too many abilities or gimmicks just yet. Next up is the speed stat. This is mostly a blunder on my part, but I'll break it down. Battles initiated in the overworld have checks to see how the player and the enemy interacted. So for example, if you walked directly into the enemy, the current playing character and the enemy's speed stat will be compared to see which party will attack first. The character with the higher stat gets the priority. The problem arises when abilities get factored in. If you touch an enemy from above, at a high speed, while dashing, while gliding, while using the Scarf Grapple, or while sliding, then the player gets the attacking priority. When encountering a boss enemy, the boss always gets attacking priority. So when all these factors are weighed in, the only situation where the speed stat is useful is when walking. Now don't get me wrong, there isn't anything wrong with prioritizing the player. The problem here is that boosting the speed stat on level up, or getting gear for the speed stat, is basically useless. So, I have something in the works that will definitely fix that. More on that shortly. Now, I'll talk about some of the stuff I've been working on. First is a total rework of the battle system. The previous system did work, the issue is that it was very clunky, and it wasn't easy to add new features without it affecting other areas. The new system is super modular, so from here on out, adding new features shouldn't be an issue at all. Remember how just a second ago I was talking about the speed stat? The new system will handle character attacking turns a lot differently. Instead of comparing two speed stats, which would be the current playing character and the overworld enemy, a queue will be used instead, queuing characters from fastest to slowest. So now there isn't really a player turn and an enemy turn, but just an order of attacks. Once the bottom of the queue is reached, a battle turn is incremented and any per turn status effects will be evaluated. Each character also has a number of attacks they get to use on their turn. Some enemies could attack multiple times. Maybe you could use an item that temporarily boosts the number of attacks you can use. Or better yet, a piece of gear that will increase the number of attacks you get when it's equipped. On top of all this, you can now have multiple status effects. Enemies can be hit with status effects, and the same stacking rules apply to them as well. There are a bunch of status effects I've been brainstorming that still need some work, but these are based off of the 7 sins. So certain characters could get a possessed status effect based on what type of demon hurt them. Gluttony, consume a random edible item each turn. Wrath, attack is doubled, but defense is halved. Pride, moxie is increased, but inputs become much harder to land and bullet time is disabled. Envy, if the affected character's HP or AP is less than another party member's, they'll steal from them to equalize it. Greed, get more money if you defeat the enemy, but lose money by taking damage. Sloth, only attack every other turn. And Lust, the enemy that afflicted the effect cannot be attacked until it is lifted. There's also a lot of extra flavor that's been added to the battles. Each character now has a standard idle animation, Ki idle animation, thinking animation, Ki thinking animation, low HP idle, low HP thinking, low HP Ki, and low HP Ki thinking animation, for a total of 8. Each character also has an item giving and 2 different item receiving animations. One for when you're not KO'd and one for when you are KO'd. Then we actually have KO'd animations, so instead of just snapping to the KO animation, there's now a nice little animation that plays in between there. And finally, some battle victory animations. So that's just a lot of battle engine related things. Let's break out of that for a moment and move on to another big aspect of the game, the rhythm game parts. Angels and Demons is stated to be a rhythm game, but as of Demo 3, the only things that really make use of that genre specification are the battle animations and the rhythm minigame. To remedy that, I've really put the extra work into the internal metronome. It now allows for dynamic pitch shifting and total synchronization regardless of frame rate drops. In Demo 3, triggering any speed shift like Nightcore or Daycore would result in the track restarting. This was to prevent desyncs. Now that this is fixed, I can really lean into the rhythm game aspects. Any action that triggers bullet time will now also slow the music down a bit. Nightcore and Daycore will no longer restart the audio track, and Daycore applies a reverb effect to all audio. So, I've started working on a few rhythm game related changes already. When standing still, your player will bounce to the beat. When in range of a grappleable object, the crosshair bounces to the beat. The HP and AP badges on the heads-up display bounce to the beat. The new battle cue dynamically bounces to a rhythm based on how many characters are in the battle. And last but not least, a new rhythm-based attack style, Pose. When an enemy uses a pose attack, a rail will appear on the right-hand side of the screen. As it moves along, inputs will appear synced up to the music. Remember this order because you'll have to replicate it. When your rail appears, press the inputs around the same time as they appeared for the enemy. Land all the inputs to counter the enemy's attack. Finally, let's talk about how things will be moving forwards. For development of Angels and Demons, I'm preparing every bit of underlying functionality before I start working on new worlds. This means all the attack styles the game will feature, extra modes, character designs, storyline, you name it. I'm making sure everything is in order before I start working on it, that way I can get things done faster. As for videos like this one, I'm not really sure. The frequency of the videos is likely going to be rather low, but I enjoy making them. However, it will eventually reach a point where spoilers will be impossible to avoid when making the video. Be it the in-game location, the characters that are shown, or whatever, I would hate to spoil someone who's genuinely interested in the story of the game. Of course, I can always put a big spoiler warning at the start of the video, but that just kind of feels like a lazy option to me. Ideally, I'd like to show off the cool non-spoilery stuff. This is just me rambling at this point, but I'll eventually figure out how to continue with these. Finally, you may have noticed the new VTuber that I've got on screen. On the side, I've created a program that moves between frames of an animation in real time based off of microphone input. I wasn't really happy with any of the virtual persona applications that were available, since none of them really felt like my style, so I just made my own. I'm thinking of releasing it to the public sometime in the future, so if this type of thing interests you, leave a comment and let me know. So that about wraps up everything for this development update. Be sure to follow my socials. I'm always posting different things about Angels and Demons, be it teaser videos, screenshots, or even memes. Also be sure to join the Discord for announcements regarding Angels and Demons, as well as special community events. All that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next development update video.